Most people prepare for the moment the power goes out. Almost nobody prepares for the moment they realize it isn't coming back. At first, it feels like any other blackout. The lights flicker, the appliances shut off. The room becomes strangely quiet. You wait. You expect the familiar sound of electricity returning. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, an hour. But something feels different. Outside, your neighbors are still talking. Some are laughing. Others are checking their phones again and again. Nobody realizes they are watching the last normal moments they may have for a long time. Everyone is waiting for the same thing, for the world to turn back on. But this time, it doesn't. And within a few hours, millions of people begin making the same mistake. The most dangerous part isn't the darkness. It's the moment people realize the systems they depend on were never built to disappear. Because electricity was never just about turning on lights. It was the invisible force controlling almost everything around you. Your drinking water, emergency services, banking, fuel, refrigeration, supply chains, even your ability to understand what is happening beyond your own neighborhood. The first few hours feel inconvenient. The first day feels unusual. But after 72 hours, people stop asking, when will the power come back? They start asking, what happens if it never does? The first mistake people make after a major blackout is believing the emergency begins when the lights go out. It doesn't. The real emergency begins when every system built around electricity starts failing, one by one. At first, nobody panics. Phones still work, cars still move, stores still have supplies. People convince themselves this is temporary, a few hours, maybe a day. But every hour that passes changes the situation. Communication devices begin losing power. Fuel stations struggle to operate. Businesses shut down. Water systems come under pressure. Hospitals switch to backup generators. And millions of people begin discovering the same uncomfortable truth. Modern life is not just powered by electricity. It depends on it. The frightening part is that most people won't understand how serious the situation is until their choices have already started changing. Imagine waking up on an ordinary morning. You reach for your phone. The screen turns on. The battery is full. Everything appears normal. Outside your window, traffic moves through the streets. People walk to work. Stores open their doors. The world looks exactly the same. Except something has changed. Somewhere far away, a failure has started. A damaged transmission line. A critical substation problem. A chain reaction that engineers spend years trying to prevent. At first, the grid tries to recover. Operators reroute power. Backup systems activate. Emergency teams respond. Most people imagine the power grid as one giant machine. It isn't. It's thousands of connected systems working together every second. When one part weakens, the others try to compensate. But remove enough of those supports, and the balance begins to collapse. And when recovery takes longer than expected, people experience something they rarely see. A world slowly disconnecting. Not all at once, but piece by piece. Your refrigerator becomes a container of warming food. Your phone becomes a countdown. Your home becomes dependent on whatever resources you already have. And the things you never thought about before suddenly become the things that matter most. Clean water, reliable information, safe shelter, food that hasn't spoiled, and the ability to protect everything you still have. The first 24 hours are confusing, but confusion is only the beginning. The second day changes human behavior. The third day reveals the real challenge. Because humans can survive without electricity, what becomes difficult is surviving without everything electricity quietly supports. Because when the third sunrise arrives, the blackout is no longer the biggest threat. Human behavior is. And that's where the first 72 hours truly begin. At first, you don't think it's an emergency. You think it's an inconvenience. The lights are out. The appliances are silent. The room feels strangely different without the constant hum of modern life. You wait. 5 minutes. 10 minutes. An hour. You expect the familiar sound of electricity returning, because that's what always happens. Power outages have always been temporary, but as the minutes turn into hours, something changes. You reach for your phone. The screen lights up. The battery is still full. For a moment, everything seems normal. Then you notice the problem. No updates. No clear information. No explanation. Everyone is searching for the same answer. How big is this? The internet slows down. Mobile networks become overloaded. People refresh the same pages again and again, hoping the next attempt will reveal something new. But uncertainty spreads faster than information. A blackout becomes far more stressful when nobody knows if it will last another hour or another week. That's the first hidden danger of a prolonged power outage. It isn't just the loss of electricity. It's the moment people realize they no longer know what they can rely on. By afternoon, people begin making the same decision. They go looking for supplies. At first, the stores still look normal, but small changes begin to appear. Bottled water disappears. Batteries become harder to find. Phone chargers sell out. People aren't preparing for a disaster. Not yet. They're preparing for a delay. They believe the power will return soon, and that belief shapes every decision they make. They buy just enough. They wait. They assume tomorrow will look like today. But the biggest problems during a major outage rarely appear all at once. They build slowly. Your refrigerator has already started counting down. Your food supply is already changing. Fuel stations are becoming dependent on backup power. Communication networks are running on limited reserves. Every system connected to electricity has its own clock. The problem is, most people don't know when those clocks will reach zero. As night falls, the darkness feels different. The city grows quieter. The streets no longer feel familiar. And for the first time, many people ask a question they never expected. What if the power doesn't come back tomorrow? The second day begins with a different feeling. Yesterday, people were waiting. Today, they're watching. The biggest change isn't what has disappeared, it's what people are starting to notice. The systems they trusted are becoming unreliable. Your phone still works, but the battery is getting lower. You still have a signal, but messages take longer to send. Without thinking, you begin using your phone differently. You stop scrolling. You stop watching videos. You save every % of battery for something important. Because when communication becomes uncertain, information becomes a valuable resource. And without reliable information, every decision becomes harder. By midday, the roads begin filling with people searching for answers. They're looking for open stores, working gas stations, anywhere they can charge a phone. But many discover the same problem. The things they need still exist. They just can't reach them easily. Fuel stations are one of the first examples. Most people think gas stations only need fuel to operate, but the pumps, payment systems, and communication networks all depend on electricity. Without power, a station with thousands of gallons underground may still be unable to serve customers. That creates a new problem. Long lines, frustration, wasted fuel, growing uncertainty. At grocery stores, the situation begins to change. The shelves aren't empty everywhere, but the items people depend on most begin disappearing. Water, batteries, ready-to-eat food, medical supplies. People aren't just buying what they need, they're buying what makes them feel prepared. That's a natural response to uncertainty. When people don't know how long a crisis will last, they try to eliminate as many unknowns as possible. But that creates another challenge. The more people rush to buy supplies, the faster those supplies disappear. Meanwhile, another invisible system is coming under pressure: the water system. Most people think water simply comes from the ground or a nearby reservoir. In reality, modern water systems depend on pumps, treatment plants, and distribution networks. Many have emergency plans. Many have backup generators. But backup systems are designed to buy time, not replace normal operations forever. At first, everything still seems normal. The faucet works. The toilet flushes. The water pressure feels the same. That's what makes the second day so deceptive. The system is already under stress. You just can't see it yet. This is what makes infrastructure failures so dangerous. They rarely happen all at once. They happen quietly. One system weakens, then another, then another. Electricity affects communication. Communication affects emergency response. Fuel affects transportation. Transportation affects food distribution. Before long, a power outage no longer feels like just a power outage. By the second night, something changes in the way people think. The biggest question is no longer, when will the power come back? Now it's, how long can we keep living like this? Because the moment people stop preparing for a short outage, they begin preparing for something much bigger. By the third day, the biggest change isn't the darkness, it's the mindset. The first day was about waiting. The second day was about searching. The third day is about adapting. You no longer wake up expecting the lights to return. You wake up asking different questions. How much water is left? How much food can still be saved? How much battery remains? What happens if this continues? That mental shift is one of the hardest parts of a prolonged outage. People are no longer dealing with a simple inconvenience. They're living with uncertainty, and uncertainty changes human behavior. Small decisions suddenly become important. Do you use your last fuel to search for supplies, or save it for an emergency? Do you check your phone for new information, or save the battery for later? Do you eat the food that may spoil first, or keep it for another day? When every choice matters, even simple decisions become exhausting. This is known as decision fatigue. During a crisis, mental energy becomes just as valuable as food or water. Outside, the neighborhood begins to change. People who rarely spoke are now talking. Neighbors share updates. Families check on elderly residents. Someone offers extra water. Someone else lets others charge a phone from a generator. In the early stages of a disaster, cooperation is often the first response. But as the outage continues, preparation becomes more important. A generator can help, but it needs fuel. A phone can help, but it needs power. A vehicle can help, but it needs gasoline. Every solution depends on another system still working. That's the hidden weakness of modern life. Almost everything is connected. By the third day, another concern begins to grow. Sanitation. Waste collection slows. Food continues to spoil. Basic hygiene becomes increasingly important. During a prolonged emergency, small problems can quietly become serious ones. Clean water is no longer something you take for granted. Food has to be managed carefully. Even a small cut needs attention. Simple hygiene becomes part of staying healthy. These basic habits often matter more than expensive survival gear, because survival is rarely about owning one perfect tool. It's about making dozens of small decisions the right way. Then comes the moment that changes everything. Someone asks, "Has anyone heard when the power is coming back?" Nobody answers. That silence says more than any official announcement could. The problem is no longer the blackout itself. The problem is not knowing when normal life will return. That's when the first 72 hours reveal their most important lesson. Your greatest advantage during a crisis isn't having everything. It's knowing what matters most before you need it. After 72 hours without power, the biggest lesson is not that modern life is fragile. The lesson is that modern life is connected. Electricity is not just about turning on lights. It supports the systems that allow cities to function. Water treatment, communication, transportation, food distribution, healthcare. The power grid is the foundation beneath many things people rarely think about. And when that foundation is disrupted, the effects spread outward. But preparedness is often misunderstood. Many people imagine preparation as expecting the worst, stockpiling everything, living in fear, preparing for a disaster that may never happen. But real preparedness is much simpler. It is about reducing uncertainty. It is about giving yourself more options when something unexpected happens. A flashlight means you don't have to move around in complete darkness. Stored water means you don't have to immediately search for supplies. A basic emergency plan means your family knows what to do before panic begins. Small preparations create more time, and time creates better decisions. The people who handle emergencies best are not always the strongest. They are usually the people who can stay calm, understand the situation, and adjust when conditions change. Because disasters rarely follow a perfect plan. Something will always go differently than expected. A supply may run out. A communication method may fail. A backup system may not work exactly as planned. Resilience comes from the ability to adapt. The first 72 hours after a major blackout reveal something important. The most valuable resource is not always what you have. It is what you know. Knowing how systems work. Knowing what problems appear first. Knowing what mistakes to avoid. Knowing how to work with the people around you. That knowledge changes how you respond. Instead of asking, "What do I do now?" you begin asking, "What is the smartest next decision?" And that difference matters, because in a crisis, panic makes people react. Understanding helps people respond. The goal of preparedness is not to live expecting disaster. It is to build confidence that you can handle uncertainty when life stops working the way you expect. The lights may go out. The systems around you may struggle. But your ability to think clearly, adapt, and make good decisions remains one of the most powerful tools you have. Because the first thing a disaster takes away is not always electricity. Sometimes it takes away people's confidence, and preparation gives that back. Ending a blackout lasting a few hours is an inconvenience. A blackout lasting days becomes a test of how connected modern life has become. The first 72 hours reveal the hidden systems that support everything around you. They reveal how quickly routines can change, how important communication becomes, how valuable simple resources are, and how much human behavior determines the outcome. The question is not whether the world can experience a major disruption. History has shown that no system is immune to disruption. The real question is, how prepared are people when they do? Because resilience is not built after the lights go out. It is built before anyone notices they might. If this video changed the way you think about everyday systems we depend on, subscribe for more documentaries exploring infrastructure failures, survival scenarios, and the hidden vulnerabilities of modern life. And comment below, what would be your biggest concern after 72 hours without power, and why? Your answer might make someone else think about a preparation they never considered. Stay informed, stay prepared, and remember, the best time to understand a crisis is before you are inside one.